The containment field flickered once, then died completely. Emma's hands flew across the holographic console, her face pale in the crimson emergency lighting of the xenobiology lab. "Jason, get back!" she screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the deafening roar that shook the entire station. The Krevthor stood 15 feet tall, a mountain of obsidian scales and razor-sharp claws that had evolved on a death world where survival meant being the apex predator. Its 6 eyes, each the size of a human fist, glowed with an intelligence that made it far more terrifying than any mindless beast. 3 rows of crystalline teeth jutted from its massive jaw, each capable of shearing through reinforced titanium. Jason didn't run. He couldn't. Not when the escape route led directly past the creature, and not when Emma was frozen behind her console, trapped between the wall and certain death. "Emma, when I move, you run for the emergency hatch," Jason said quietly, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "Jason, no. That thing has killed 17 sentient species warriors. You don't have a weapon. You don't even have armor." The Krevthor took a step forward, its claws gouging deep furrows in the reinforced floor. Throughout the galaxy, these creatures were legend. The Thalzine, the greatest hunters in known space, refused to track them. The Tar warrior caste, bred for combat over 10,000 years, had declared Krevthor homeworlds forbidden zones. And here stood Jason, a human xenobiologist in a lab coat, armed with nothing but a datapad and what Emma considered to be suicidal courage. "Hey there, big guy," Jason said, taking a step forward instead of back. The Krevthor's growl deepened, resonating through the deck plates. Its muscles coiled, preparing to strike. Every instinct should have told Jason to flee, to at least try to survive the next 10 seconds. Instead, he did something that made Emma's breath catch in her throat as he sat down. Right there, on the cold floor, Jason crossed his legs and placed his hands in his lap, looking up at the towering predator with an expression of calm curiosity. "I know you're scared," he said softly. "New place, new smells, lots of noise and lights you don't understand." The Krevthor's head tilted, a gesture so reminiscent of a confused dog that Emma felt a hysterical laugh bubble up in her throat. One massive paw lifted, claws extended, hovering over Jason's fragile human body. "We took you from your home," Jason continued, his voice taking on a gentle, rhythmic quality. "Didn't ask, didn't explain, just caged you up like you were some kind of trophy. That wasn't right. I'm sorry." The creature's 6 eyes focused on him, unblinking. Its breathing, which had been rapid and aggressive, began to slow. The raised paw lowered slightly. Emma's fingers hovered over the emergency beacon. One press, and the station's automated defense systems would flood the room with enough voltage to stop a Krevthor's heart. It would also kill Jason instantly. "You know what?" Jason said, reaching slowly into his pocket. "I've got something I think you might like." He pulled out a protein bar, the same one Emma had watched him pocket from the cafeteria that morning. Standard human ration, nothing special. He unwrapped it carefully, the crinkling sound abnormally loud in the tense silence. The Krevthor's nostrils flared, sampling the air. Its massive head lowered, bringing those terrible jaws close enough to Jason's face that Emma could see his hair moving from the creature's breath. Jason broke off a piece and held it out on his palm, the same way he'd feed treats to the rescue dogs back on Earth. For a long moment, nothing happened. Emma's heart hammered so hard she thought her ribs might crack. The galaxy held its breath. Then the Krevthor's tongue, rough as sandpaper and large as Jason's entire arm, gently lapped the protein bar from his hand. "Good," Jason murmured. "That's good. See, not so bad, right?" The creature made a sound Emma had never heard before, a deep rumbling that came from its chest. Not a growl. Something else. Something almost like a purr. Jason broke off another piece, held it out. The Krevthor took it more confidently this time. Then, in a movement that would be analyzed by xenobiologists for the next century, the apex predator of the Krevthor homeworld, the creature that had terrified civilizations spanning 1,000 worlds, lowered itself to the ground and rested its massive head on Jason's lap. Emma's datapad slipped from her numb fingers, clattering to the floor. Jason's hand, looking impossibly small, reached up and touched the scales behind the creature's ear ridge. He scratched gently, the way he'd pet the station's cat. The Krevthor's eyes, all 6 of them, slowly closed. The purring sound intensified. Emma, Jason said calmly. Could you maybe not activate the defense grid? I think we just became friends. She found herself laughing, tears streaming down her face. Relief, shock, and a growing understanding of why humans had spread so far across the stars. While other species had built their civilizations on logic, strength, or technology, humans had something else. Something primal and powerful: empathy. Connection. The ability to see a scared animal instead of a monster. The Krevthor shifted, pressing closer to Jason like an enormous, scaly puppy seeking comfort. Jason continued to stroke its scales, murmuring soft reassurances. Station log, Emma said shakily, activating her recorder. First peaceful contact with a Krevthor specimen achieved. Method: human Jason Richards apparently decided our apex predator was just a very large dog who needed a friend. Jason looked up at her and grinned. Technically, all animals are just looking for the same things we are: safety, food, and someone who gives a damn. The Krevthor rumbled its agreement, nuzzling deeper into Jason's chest. The galaxy would never be quite the same.